Hey everyone, welcome to the Hampton Roads Real Estate Network. Today we're doing something a little different. We are going to react to a recent article slash video by Wayne TV10 called Virginia Housing Market in Decline. Scary, right? So that is, that's not new kind of headlines, clickbait stuff that we've seen over the years, but we decided to go ahead and pick this one out because, like everything, there's a little bit of truth and a little bit of maybe hyperbole involved with articles like this. So we just wanted to go ahead and break it down for you and then also kind of give our takeaways about the article and what it means in real life for people out there actually doing the buying and selling, and what we're seeing with clients and what we're seeing on the ground out there in the real estate market. So I'll go ahead and start us off. The big takeaway from this article is it's getting harder to buy a home. And I don't disagree with that, right? That I think is provable over time with multiple different factors. The question is, why is it getting harder to buy a home? Well, I think we all know that mortgage rates have increased recently. And more importantly, not that they're at around 7%, which historically is not like super terrible, but they haven't declined as we expected them to. Earlier this year, if you've been watching our market updates, and you should, maybe we'll link a video somewhere, and you can watch one of those. But earlier in the year, in January, February, we were looking at maybe mortgage rates declining in April, May, June, right? And so everybody was super excited because that's about when the spring selling season kicks off. So we're like, okay, great, 6% or less would be awesome. But that hasn't happened. So we're sitting around 7%. So that is one thing that obviously affects affordability. It affects how much you pay a month and all that stuff, right? Don't need to tell you guys all that. The other factor is that the increase in median sales price across Virginia, that's important too. This article is about Virginia, not Hampton Roads. So everything that we're talking about is for the Virginia market as a whole. Okay. But the median sales price across Virginia has increased more than $27,000 than this time last year in March. Right. And over a period of 4 years, it has increased almost $100,000. Right. So just your ticket price has gone up. So obviously that affects affordability just because things are more expensive in the housing market and other aspects of life as well. And then the third factor is decreased in sold homes, and overall low inventory continues to persist. The low inventory, again, if you've been watching our market updates or just the news in general, you know that the housing inventory is low. That's not new. But what's important that this article is pointing out right now is the decrease in sold homes and the persistence of active sales. That's active sales is how many sales are on the market that are still for sale compared to the number of homes that are set to close or selling, right? And then the next important metric that this article points out is new listings are essentially flat. They're slightly down, but basically they're at zero. And at this time this year, you expect rising new listings because more people are putting their homes on market because we're in the spring selling season. People are moving. This is traditionally when a lot of homes go on market. But right now, at this moment, we're not really seeing that uptick, which is concerning and which is what is leading this article to say that the housing market may be in decline. And decline meaning that we have low inventory, not declining home values, right? Or you could think of declining home sales, which we are down in home sales from this time last year by about 600 homes from March of 2023. It's about 7%, negative 7.3% to be exact. And that means obviously we have less homes selling right at this time of this year, in a time that we would think that we'd have more. And like I just said as well, new listings are flat. So we're waiting for more homes to hit the market. Overall, our month supply of inventory in Virginia is up just a little bit, but 1.8, which is the current number this year, still really low. What these numbers display is the reality of a potential slowdown in transaction volume. Okay. And with a slowdown in volume, typically you would expect a decrease in home values, but we're not seeing that because of some of the factors we just went over, because the overall inventory is really low. And so when that's the case, you're not going to have a decrease in values because of the supply demand effect, right? So that's where we're at statistically and numbers wise. And that's what this article is really trying to say, is that we could be seeing a slowdown in a time where we usually see an uptick in market activity, and that affordability is a problem, and that it's harder for people, especially first time home buyers, to buy a house, right? And Drew is going to go ahead and give us our takeaway about what we're seeing out there and what these numbers mean to people out there in real life, you know? So, Drew, go ahead and kind of take it away for us.
Once again, affordability is an issue, um, especially for new homeowners. The recent conditions have been pushing the age of first time home buyers up. We'll talk about that specific topic in a later time. But that continues to be the case because of the combination of the low supply, the mortgage rates increased, the demand to own a home is still elevated, which is increasing the home value in other economic factors outside of the housing market as well. Just inflation, cost of living. Current homeowners who would like to upsize, downsize, or potentially relocate, they're going to have a similar challenge ahead of them as these new first time homebuyers. Their increased equity gains over the last several years are going to be mitigated by the cost to purchase their next home. This is particularly true for upsizers or those relocating to the pricier areas, bigger homes, whatnot. You know, a big question that a lot of folks are probably having, maybe they're not asking, but is homeownership still a worthwhile pursuit? Yes, absolutely. There's a long term benefit of homeownership. Potentially, it's even more urgent now to purchase a home if this trend is going to continue for the next undetermined amount of time. New home buyers need to adjust their expectations. And Ryan, I'm going to say this. We didn't really talk about it, but I think that's another topic for another time as well. Expectations, whether it's your next home or your first home. Current homeowners may need to consider what their true must-haves are in their next property. Ryan, we were talking about a conversation that you recently had, and I'm going to let you head this part of the conversation. But you just recently had a conversation in regards to somebody that was, I believe, in their retirement stages, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I just had this conversation with somebody last evening who is around age 65. And unfortunately, she's in a situation where she has very little money saved. She's totally dependent on Social Security, and it makes, you know, less than $1,500 a month on that. And she needs to move. She needs a new place to live. And she has a hard deadline, a very soon deadline. And she was trying to find out what her options are. And she just won't qualify to buy a house, period. And unfortunately, in these conditions, she's going to be really hard pressed to get a rental with, requirements that most landlords are asking for now to get a rental approved. So unfortunately, she's going to be dependent on finding a friend, family, government assistance, something like that to help her find a place to live. And that's just very unfortunate. And it just speaks volumes to the importance of homeownership for most Americans, because it's part of that future planning that we all need to do, and we don't always think about in the moment. We all think that we're going to live forever, kind of thing, until you're all of a sudden 60 years old and you need a place to live and you don't have any real resources, unfortunately. So yes, like Drew said, homeownership is super important, and it could be more important right now than it ever has been before. The age of new homeowners has been going up steadily over the past several years. We're in a snapshot in time where if this trend continues, we could see that affordability become more and more of an issue for a lot more people, and homeownership could become harder and harder, right? And things could change, obviously, and then maybe in the future things shift, but you might end up waiting a lot longer than you thought. Is my point?
One thing, Ryan, I just want to highlight on real quick, just a quick example. That median home price, we're just going to go back to 2020. We don't even need to go back further in time than that. But the median home price in 2020 was stated at $305,000 for the state of Virginia.
Right.
Now, the median home price now in 2024 is $397,000. So not
Yeah.
only have the home values increased by almost $100,000, now the interest rates are totally different. The monthly payment back then is vastly different than it is now. And,
Yeah.
that's a good and bad thing. But if you plant the seed now, you could have a huge financial gain. Now,
Yeah.
no, we don't have a crystal ball. We like to say that I wish we did. Um, but if current trends keep going in the positive direction, it's an investment. You purchase a home, you pay your bills, you're going to gain that equity as long as we
Yeah.
don't have a economic fallout. But
And
that's
then you'll
all
have
that
some resources.
that's all that the homeowners have done. In the last several years, they're just paying their bills and they've gained $100,000 in equity.
Yeah.
If you're renting, you're paying somebody else's mortgage, still paying the
Correct.
bill. But at least if you own your own home, you have that financial gain for yourself and that security. So, I'm just going to end on that. That's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day. We can, go down a huge, rabbit hole with that conversation. But
Yeah.
we really just wanted to clarify the decline, wording in that news article that came out a week ago by Wavy TV10.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks for that, Drew. Thanks for jumping on here with me. Exactly that. We just wanted to break down that article because it's a very typical article or video headline that we see these days about the market, casting it usually in a negative light. And of course, we're not sugarcoating it. There are difficulties for sure going on out there. We never want to gloss over that. But lots of times you got to actually like look into it and see exactly what they mean by that. So it's not always what maybe would jump into your mind about a market decline. For some people, you might be hoping it's like, oh, great, market's declining. I can just stick it out, and then affordability will swing back around, and I can pick up, like I used to be able to do in 2020. No indicators that that's going to happen, and the decline specifically in this market is the decline in new listings coming onto the market specifically, which is the concern. So, if you guys have any questions and if you are interested in buying a home, which you should be, and becoming a homeowner, feel free to reach out to myself or Drew because we are always available to talk about real estate. And I will never charge you for a phone call. So, phone calls are free, guys. All right. Talk to you later.